Hey everyone, welcome to another video by Simplilearn. In this video, what are Pandas data frames? We will teach you everything that you need to know about the basics of Pandas data frames. So let's get started. So what can you expect from this video? What's in it for you? First, we will answer the question, what is Pandas? Then we will move on to Pandas data frames. And finally, we will end with the fundamental data frame operations that you should know about. So what is Pandas? Pandas is a Python package for data analysis which provides flexible and powerful data structures for data storing and manipulation. It is useful for data wrangling and data manipulation. Now, Pandas is nothing but a software library which was written for the Python programming language for data manipulation and analysis. In particular, it offers data structures and operations for manipulating numerical tables and time series. It is built on top of another package called NumPy, which provides support for multidimensional arrays. As one of the most popular data wrangling packages, Python works well with many other data science modules inside the Python ecosystem and is typically included in every Python distribution, from those that come with the operating system to commercial vendor distributions like ActiveState's ActivePython. Now let's answer the question, what are Pandas data frames? Data frames are similar to SQL tables or the spreadsheets that you work with in Excel or Calc. In many cases, data frames are faster, easier to use, and more powerful than tables or spreadsheets because they're an integral part of Python and NumPy ecosystem. Now let's take a look at the different types of Pandas data frames. The first type of a Pandas data frames is the normal data frame itself. A data frame contains multiple columns, each having a single data type. Each column has multiple rows. The next type of a Pandas data frames is a series. A series is nothing but a one-dimensional array which can hold any data type. It has access labels or indexes. A series is a data frame which consists of a single column. The column can have multiple data types stored within it. Now let's look at some fundamental data frame operations. The first fundamental data frame operation that we're going to be looking at is how to create a Pandas data frame. We start off by importing Pandas with it in the short form PD. So we import Pandas as PD. Anywhere that you see the abbreviation PD, it means that Pandas is being called. We also import NumPy as NP. Now let's start off by creating a small NumPy array which contains 2 columns and 4 rows. So as you can see here, we have a small NumPy array which has 2 columns and 4 rows containing the values 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. Now let's convert this. But why does this not look like a NumPy's array? That's because while printing it, we call the Pandas data frame function on our NumPy array. The data here is the data given from 1:1 and 1:1, which is from the first column to the last column and from the first row to the last row. The index that we've given it is the first column, and the columns that we've given it is the data 0:1 and nothing else, which is nothing but the top row of our NumPy array. Finally, when you print it out, you get a data frame which looks like this. Now let's see how we can convert a CSV file from a data frame. So to read in a CSV file as a data frame, we just use the pd.readCSV function and we pass in the location of where our CSV file is stored. Let's run this and see what our actual data frame looks like when we read it from a CSV file. So this is what our data frame looks like. The CSV file that we've used here is the grades.csv file. As you can see, it has 9 columns and somewhere around 16 rows. It contains the name of different students along with their SSN number and how much they've scored in various tests along with the final grade. Now let's look at different data structures that we can also convert into a data frame. First, let's start off with the two-dimensional array. Over here, we have a NumPy array which contains the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9. To convert this into a data frame, all we have to do is use the pd.dataframe function and pass in the two-dimensional array. Next, let's also convert a dictionary and use it as an input to our pd.dataframe function. So over here, as you can see, our dict1 is our dictionary, which has the key value 1 and the corresponding values as 1 and 3. The other key value is 2 and the corresponding value is 1 and 2. And the final key value is 3. The corresponding values are 2 and 4. Here, the key values are gonna be our columns and their corresponding values are gonna be the column values. So when we run this, you should see a data frame which has 3 columns and 2 rows, as each column has only 2 values stored within it. We can also create a data frame. We can also use a data frame as input to our data frame function. Basically, all you have to do is pass in your data and your columns. So this over here is gonna be a single column with the data stored within it being 4, 5, 6 and 7. Over here, as you can see, we're not using a two-dimensional array, we're not using a dictionary, we're not even using a CSV file. We're just directly passing in the name of our columns and our data to the data frame function. And finally, we're gonna create a series. So as you know, a series is nothing but a data frame which has a single column, and the column can have different values stored within it. Over here, we're gonna pass in a dictionary as the input to our series function in pandas. So let's run this cell and see what our final output is gonna be like. So over here, as you can see, we've passed in our two-dimensional array which contains different row values, and these row values are reflected here. Because we didn't pass in any column labels, it's just gonna use indices as the column values. It's gonna start from 0 and then go upwards until wherever the columns end, and the same goes for the row values. Now this is the dictionary that we're passing in, and this is what it looks like in the form of a data frame. So as you can see, the key values that we have will be the column labels and the corresponding values will be the row values. Because we didn't pass any labels for our rows, it's gonna automatically just number the rows starting from the 0th indice. This is the data frame this is when we passed in pd.dataframe function. We had given A as the column label, and we'd passed in the corresponding column values as 4, 5, 6 and 7. So this is what it looks like. And finally, this is our series. So as you can see, in these series, we'd passed in different keys and we'd given their values. That is what is reflected here. The key value Belgium and the corresponding value Brussels will appear in the form of a series. Now over here the column is only this, so the corresponding values. These are nothing but the row labels. So Belgium here is the row label and Brussels is the column value. Because this is not a data frame, as you can see, the label that we get for it is a D-type object. Now the data frames that we've looked at so far have a finite value which you can easily see. It's very easy to see and count how many columns this data frame has and how many rows are corresponding to the column values. But what happens when you have a huge data frame? How are you supposed to know how many rows and columns it has at that time? For that, you can just use the data frame attribute which is called shape. So over here, as you can see, when we find the shape of our df1 data frame, which is this data frame, we get 16 and 9. The shape is nothing but the row values and the column values. We can also find the index of the data frame. So as of now, we haven't set an index for a data frame, so it doesn't have a definite index. It just says that it starts at the 0th value and stops at the 16th value, which is nothing but the number of rows our data frame has, and the step size is 1, which means that after 1 the row changes. Now let's see how we can change column names in a data frame. So as you can see in the data frame here, given here, the column names are kind of weird. The first column name is last name without any double quotes, and the remaining column names all have double quotes around them. When you're referring to a column or when you need to call them or print them out, this may cause a little bit of problems. So let's see how we can change the column names. So to change the column names, all you have to do is call the df1.columns attribute of our data frame and initialize it to the new column names. So as you can see, the name of the columns have been changed. Now they no more have any more double quotes. If you want any change that you make here will immediately be reflected in the name of the columns of our data frames. Let's keep this as first name itself for now. Next, let's see how we can select rows and columns from a data frame. This can be done using the lock and ilock function. The lock function is usually used to select the columns, and the ilock function is usually used to select rows from a data frame. But let's get more into details about how lock and ilock differ from each other. The lock function will work on labels, which means if you given lock SSN as given here, it will look for the value of SSN in your data frame. It'll specifically look for the index or the column or the row which is labeled SSN. ilock will work on positions. That means if you've given an ilock 4, it'll look for values of your data frame that are at the position 4. Now let's run these two and see how they differ. So as you can see here, using the lock function, we've accessed only the column SSN. As you can see, at the first position, it is used to specify your rows, and we haven't selected any rows. We've accessed the column SSN by directly calling its label. As you know, the lock function takes only labels. So when you're using the lock function, you have to pass in a label to your lock function. Now, the ilock function will select or the values and in the row at the 4th position or at the 4th index. The row which has an index of 4 here is Bumpkin Fred. So when you run this, you should get the value of the row at the 4th index, and all of it should contain Bumpkin Fred's data. Yeah, so basically what is happening is you're getting the row which has the index of 4. Now let's see how we can add rows and columns to our data frame. Before we can add rows and columns to a data frame, let's see the differences between lock and ilock in a lot more detail. So over here we have our pandas data frame. We've created a new pandas data frame, and let's print it and see how it looks. So our data frame has 3 columns, 48, 49 and 50, and the row indexes are 1, 2 and 3. The first thing that we're going to do is use the lock function to access our row. How do we know it's a row? Because we haven't mentioned any columns. If we were accessing columns, we'd have to put a colon here, but because we've just passed 2, it's going to look for rows. So as you can see, we have accessed the row which has a label of 2 over here, which is 4, 5 and 6. And when we use ilock, it's gonna find the values at the 2nd position or the 2nd index. Now our rows and columns are usually 0 indexed, which means the first row and the first column will have an index of 0, the next one will have an index of 1, and the final one will have an index of 2. So this is actually the 0th row, this is the first row, and this is the second row. This is why when we pass ilock 2, we get the values 7, 8 and 9. Now let's see how we can add new values using lock and ilock to our data frame. So again, let's start off by creating a NumPy array which has columns A, B and C and the row labels as 1, 2 and 3. And the row labels as 1, 2 and 3. So this is our two-dimensional data frames which we've created with the help of a NumPy array. The values in the corresponding rows and columns are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9. Now let's use log to add a new value to our data frame. This should be 4, this shouldn't be 3. This will make an index label 4 and add the new values. So as you can see already, our data frame row index ends at 3. But using lock, we're gonna make a new row label 4 and add the entire row to our data frame. Because you know that lock works on labels and there is no label 4, when we use this function, lock is going to run through all of our rows and see that there is no row label 4. So it's going to create one by itself with the values 60, 50 and 40. Now, as you know, using iLock, we can change the values at different positions. So this is gonna, using lock and iLock, we can change the values, and lock will change it, at the label 2. So over here, this will directly change the value of the label 2 to 11, 12 and 13. Similarly, when we use iLock for the same function, when we pass in 2 to iLock, it's going to change the values at the label 3 or at the second index, because as I told you, it starts with 0th index. So this is 0, 1 and 2. So the values at label 3 are going to get changed. This is how you can change the row values or add new rows to your data frame. Now let's see how you can add a column to a data frame. To add a column, all you have to do is specify a new column in your data frame. So over here, what we're doing is we are adding a new column D, and the values of the column D are going to be the index values. We're also creating another column after the column D called the column E, and over here we're manually passing in the values as 0, 1, 2 and 0, 1, 2 and 3. So when we print this, as you can see, first of all we have the so let's run this, and as you can see, the first column that we've added is the column D, which has the index labels starting from 1 and ending at 4. Next, as you can see, after adding the column D, we've also added the column E, and we've given it the values 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now let's see how we can delete rows and columns in a data frame. So let's just take a look at our DF1 again. This is the grades data frame where you have different students, you have their SSN number, and you have their marks in different tests along with their final grade. To drop a column or a row, all you have to do is use the drop function of a pandas data frames. So over here we use the name of the data frame dot drop, the column or row that we want to drop, and the axis that it is on. Over here the axis is 1, which means that means columns. When the axis is 0, it means that you're specifying the rows. So but because we want to drop a grade column, all we're going to do is specify the axis as 1. So when we finally run it, as you can see, our DF1 has dropped the grade column. Now what happens if you don't know the name of your column, but you know the position at which you want to drop a column at? So all you have to do is drop a column by specifying the position. To specify the position, you can use the column function, and this is where you enter the column name. So when you only have single parenthesis, that's when you can directly access the column. When you have double parenthesis, that means that you're using it to access the position. The column that we're going to drop is at position 1, and we know it's a column because axis value is 1. So let's run this and see. Now, as I told you before, rows and columns are 0 index. So this is 0 and this is 1. The column that you see dropped here is the first name column, which is at position 1. So now we've seen how you can drop columns. Let's say you can drop rows. You can directly drop a row by using its index. Over here, we're dropping the row which is at index 1, which was the Alfred row. So this row got dropped, and as you can see, because we're dropping the row at index 1, the corresponding label of index 1 also got dropped, and it's missing. So this is how you drop a row from a data frame. Now let's say you can change the index of a data frame. So first let's look at the index of a df1. As you can see, it doesn't really have an index. It just says that it has a range of indexes which is starting from 0 and ending at 16. You can set the index of a data frame by using the setIndex function, and over here let's set the index as SSN. Index is nothing but the starting value of our data frame, so it just specifies from where our data frame is starting from. This is going to be at the new 0th position. So when you run this, the value of your SSN is taken as your index, or is taken as your index labels. So now if you want to access any element in this data frame depending on its position, or if you want to access any like row depending on the index, you're gonna have to use these index values. You can't use 0, 1, 2, 3 anymore. You're gonna have to use the SSN value of the corresponding row. So far we've worked with a complete data frame. Now what happens if you don't want to use a complete data frame but only want to use a small portion of it? You can get the small portion by using slicing. Slicing is nothing but using an operator to select a set of rows or columns from a data frame. You can perform slicing by using the lock and ilock function. So in this case, suppose we want to get the test results of this student with the last name Gertie. So over here we're using the Boolean operator to go through a data frame and get the last name Gertie. Once we arrive at the name Gertie, we're gonna extract the values of her first name, because we are checking by the last name, so we already have that. We're gonna get her first name and all the test scores and her final grade. So when I run this, you're gonna get a small portion of your data frame. So when I run this, you're gonna get a small portion of your data frame depending on the values that you've given. Now suppose you don't know the name that you want. Suppose over here we had like a condition to go on. We knew that we wanted the test results for Gertie. What if we just want a certain portion of the data frame? Say we want the first 3 columns, or we only want the column values from first name to test 3 for like the first 4 to 5 rows. So for this you can use ilock. The ilock function, as you know, the difference between lock and ilock is that the ilock function will get the values depending on their index, while the lock function will get it depending on the label value. So when you don't know the label value, you can use the ilock function. Here using the ilock function, we're gonna get all the column values for the second row index. So we've again done the same thing. The only difference is we've used the ilock function. Now let's see this again. Suppose you want to get all values up until the third index and you want all the column values for it. So this is what you get. So as you can see over here, we've specified the third index value. So why were you only getting the values of index up until 2? This is because when slicing in pandas, the start bound, which over here the start bound is 0, is included in the output. But the stop bound, which over here is 3, the stop bound is always one step beyond the row that you want to select. If you want to get the value of the first 3 rows, or if you want to get the value of the index up until 2, you're gonna have to specify the third index, because this index is out of bounds. It is not going to be included in the output. So that is one thing that you have to keep in mind. At the same time, this applies for columns too. So as you know, columns are indexed from the 0 label. So as you can see here, this is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you want to get the 8th column, if you want to get all values up until the 8th column, you're gonna have to go out of bounds and put 9 here. That's when all of your column values are going to be given. But if you put 8 over here, starting from 0, the last column is going to be excluded. At the same time, you don't have to use the lock and ilock function. Using lock and ilock, you can specify the row values as well as the column values. But if you want, you can directly just slice from the data frame by using parenthesis values. Now over here, you can only get a row slice, you cannot slice the columns. But as you can see, using df1 2:5, we've gotten all values starting from the second index all the way up until the fourth index, which is and as I've said, the fifth index will be out of bound. So these are a couple of ways that you can slice your data frame. Again, this works only on the rows. You cannot use this on the columns. If you want to slice for rows and columns, you're going to have to use the lock or the ilock function. And with that, we come to the end of this video on Python data frames. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, a thumbs up would be really appreciated. And here's your reminder to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon for more on the latest technologies and trends. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more from Simplilearn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.